certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Staten Island. It's 404 Richmond Terrace, aka 404-418 Richmond Terrace, located within the St. George Historic District. Docket number 162685, Block 3, Lot 40. It's a Greek Revival style freestanding house built circa 1835 and altered in 1924-1925 by Sibley and Featherston. The application is to alter the facades, reconstruct the rear wall of the addition, install mechanical equipment, construct a parking lot, demolish a wall, and install a perimeter fence. And this was last presented in February 17th, 2015.
The item is 404 Richmond Terrace, and the application as initially presented at the February 17th public hearing was to alter the facades, reconstruct the rear wall of the 1924 addition, install mechanical equipment on the roof, construct a parking lot, demolish part of a wall, and install a new perimeter fence. So just to review, 404 Richmond Terrace is a freestanding Greek Revival style frame mansion that was built in the 1830s. It is located on a large corner lot seen here in the St. George Historic District on Staten Island. Here are historic photographs showing that it was once one in a row of 4 freestanding Greek Revival style mansions. And also here's an aerial view showing the site in question with the building here and the corner of Richmond Terrace and Westerville Avenue here. Here one more historic photograph and some kind of earlier 20th century photographs and current photographs of the building. More current photographs of the site and the surrounding buildings. Here's the site again as in an aerial view. Richmond Terrace here, Westerville Avenue here. The building is here, and this is an empty lot where another building once stood. So more photos of the site. Here's photographs of the existing grandfathered perimeter wall and fence, which I'll show you again later in the presentation. So the previous proposal shown to you on February 17th, you had concerns about the proposed removal of the front door and side lights seen here. You also had concerns about replacing historic shingle cladding at the rear of the 1924 addition with stucco. Here's a detail of the existing shingles, actually on a different facade. And you also had issues with the wall, which I'll get to at the end of the presentation. So this was the previous proposal for the front facade where the existing door and side lights were to be removed for double doors. The applicant is now proposing to retain the door as is. Here are some photos of the actual facade with the shingles in question. Here was the previous proposal of this rear facade showing stucco. So those two aspects have been revised. Here's the current proposal for the front, which retains the historic door and historic side lights shown here. They're now proposing to repair or replace in kind the historic shingles at this rear elevation. At the side elevation, a small detail has been added at the handrail on the exposed stair at the side. You had also had some concerns about the asphalt parking lot proposed for the vacant portion of the lot. That has not changed. It's still proposed to be asphalt with perimeter plantings. There's been no change to this elevation. So now I'm getting to the wall. The proposal remains the same to remove only a small portion of this existing grandfathered wall and fence. So we'd like to represent to hopefully get a better understanding of the existing conditions of the site and what they're proposing to do. So the wall in question was put in the late 80s or early 90s prior to designation. The portion right in front of the building is composed of, you can see it better here, a low curb with piers. This is looking west on Richmond Terrace and looking east back towards the building on Richmond Terrace. So there's taller portions of the wall beginning just west of the building here. Here's a closer view of where the tall portion begins. There's a small gate and then a pair of large decorative iron gates, another pier. And those large gates are here. So there's another gate, another portion of the wall, a gate, and then the wall continues around the corner with Westerville. and terminates here. And there's currently chain link fence all up and down Westervelt. So those are the existing conditions. On this aerial view, the tall portion of the wall, the extent of it is really from here to here. The lower portion of the wall with the decorative wrought iron fence is here in front of the building. Here's a detail showing the wrought iron fence. It's real wrought iron, as you can see. It's decorative in nature. It has foliated motifs. So the proposal that was shown to you was to remove only this portion of the tall CMU wall, cutting it here and removing this portion along Westervelt, and replacing it with, here's the elevation you had asked for, continuation of a low masonry curb with the continued wrought iron fence all along Westervelt. So the applicant would like to keep the existing fence they have, which is grandfathered, and continue it, both for aesthetic and for security reasons. So there's actually historic precedent for a fence of some sort at this location. This is the corner of Richmond Terrace and Westervelt Avenue, seen in the 1920s. And it's kind of hard to tell, but there is some sort of a fence with piers here, happening here. This building was demolished sometime in the 20th century. Here's another historic photo from 1912. This is that building that was demolished on the corner. This is the subject property, so looking west. Here's evidence of a fence at the property. So in conclusion, the owner of this building wasn't able to make it to the public hearing, but would like the opportunity to speak on the record today, if possible.
The owner's here?
Yes, the owner's here, yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, we can reopen the hearing.
Hi, my name is Keisha Weaver. My husband's Devon Henry. We purchased this building in an attempt to basically bring this building back to life. It's been abandoned for over 20 years. However, when we bought the building, we did notice the fence as well as the building itself. We think the fence is a perfect complement to this building. I think that by wrapping this fence around Westervelt, instead of changing it and putting it a different fence altogether, I think it's going to look choppy. I've spoken to many people in the community. They feel that the fence is beautiful along it. I feel that the fence is beautiful. I just don't see why we just can't continue the design of the fence along the Westervelt end as opposed to changing the design altogether. The fence actually will be over 100 feet away from the building. It doesn't take anything away from the building. The building stands alone. You can see through it. And also it's needed for security reasons.
Right, and I think that, there were a couple of issues about the fence, and I've been to the site since then, and I actually think the fence, the design of the fence itself, the wrought iron sort of foliage, tree-like design, I think is fine. At least personally, I don't think it's an issue, but one of the things we were commenting on last time was more about that you had certain stretches of the barrier or the fence, which is this tall 6-foot-high concrete block, which is quite unsightly, and not very, and you're planning to anyway remove it on the side street. And I think there was a recommendation or a direction that at least you think about those concrete blocks type, the wall really, along Richmond Terrace as well. So you could continue the same vocabulary that you have just in front of the house, which is you have a low curb and may have piers where you have gates, but then have the fence as opposed to retaining all this high concrete wall. And I think it would be actually more attractive if you're going to bring this building back to use. And I appreciate that. It's great. This building's been vacant. It's good for it to be active again.
Yeah, I think that was exactly what the comment was. It was the nature of the fence, I think, was an afterthought, and I think I'm the one who actually said at the end, you might want to consider taking a look at the fence in the back and seeing if you could do something like that. But the wall is the thing that really lit people up, I think. And getting rid of the wall and replacing it with a knee wall more similar to what was originally there was the real big concern, because that is, there's no question. I mean, it's my community. It's an eyesore.
Are we talking about this portion, basically keeping this?
Right, if you see the big
Right.
white, right,
That's something we can do.
right, and then you can put your, the same type of,
We're open to that. We're very much open to that.
Yeah, I know, and we were not trying to, we understood the security concern and all that. We weren't trying to eliminate fence. It was just trying to get a consistent baseline. Yeah, okay, but this consistent baseline going across the front and the side, and a consistent fence going along the front and the side.
Then we're on the same page, because that's what we're looking to do.
Okay, because that was, I think in the presentation, it seemed that you were retaining everything that's along Richmond Avenue as is, and only on the side street where you're making that change. But if you're amenable to it, I think that really addresses the Commission's concerns about the treatment of the perimeter.
We are.
Okay. All right, that's good. Other comments? I think they they addressed our concerns with it. I know that, Michael, yes, please.
I just want to say that they could work with staff just to make sure that where that stucco stops and the shingle starts, it's just kind of shown as like a wallpaper meeting at a corner, just to have the staff look at that detail.
I think we can recommend that. Okay. Yes, Diana?
Yeah, we could just ask the owner or the architect about the suggestion that you might consider using something like a grasscrete or something permeable rather than a asphalt, because there are surfaces you can drive on, but they're not, just asphalt. Is that something that you're willing to consider, or that was one of the suggestions from the commission? For the parking lot.
This is for the parking lot. If it's some kind of permeable substance, which is anyway better for drainage and, yes? Yes, you can speak. We've opened the hearing, so you can speak.
Steven Savino, architect for the 404. Last time I was here, you guys were speaking about putting pavers down or some sort of block that has holes in it that allows grass to grow through. And we have a little bit of an issue with anything that has holes in it or allows a woman's heel to get stuck in. We are planning on doing some permeable asphalt. We are taking care of drainage and whatnot, water issues. But as far as paving the whole driveway, we were kind of up in the air with that.
I think the commission wants to make sure that the parking lot, because it's visible, is going to have some kind of surface which is better than what you normally see, which is just paved asphalt. Something which has, if they're pavers that don't let grass through, but they're attractive, and I think you could work with staff on that to come up with a surface which is...
Cobblestone or brick, for
Maybe,
paver.
Around is for the curb, instead of putting a concrete curb, you could definitely put cobblestone around the perimeter to soften it up a bit.
Ms. Michael, what were you suggesting, cobblestone over the
Well,
entire thing?
the typical upgrade from asphalt would be a concrete paver or a brick paver. Both are considered plowable and appropriate for maintenance, and are certainly a lot more attractive than, more historically appropriate than asphalt. Not for this site was a house, so it's not like you're putting down whatever, but it's certainly if we're talking about the aesthetics of the thing, it's certainly a better aesthetic option. Most people would consider anyway.
Yeah, and there are dozens of, options in that regard that range in price from bottom to top, and all of which are compatible with high heels.
Yeah, and DEP might have some suggestions on permeable, options that might be available that wouldn't have the problem of trip hazard, which obviously we all understand, so, it's just to explore something other than just the asphalt.
Right, and why don't we have them explore that with staff? I think even the zoning resolution sort of recognizes that they want more sustainable developments and parking lots, and I think they have guidelines as well. So I think that you should look at that and work with our staff to have something that's softer and more permeable, and that would be more consistent with sort of historic areas. Okay? Yes?
Just for purpose of the staff, what is it that the commissioners are looking for? An entire replacement of the concrete with a different material that comports with drainage and other issues and safety, or is it more for design, like the applicant architect said, a design element that softens up?
I think you have parking lots which have, different kinds of pavers that are used over the entire surface, so it's not just at an edge. but something which,
Well, I mean, if you're talking about paving the entire area with some sort of pavers, right? I'm sorry, I'm Devon Danny, I'm one of yours.
okay.
My apologies. If you're talking about using particular pavers, my concern is over time that maintenance loses, and the paver losing integrity, the impact of the cars back and forth in the snow and so on and so forth. There's a particular product that I saw over the weekend is, like you said, peripheral pavers, drainage, and the water seeps right through, and you still create the same drainage of going back into the sewer, which Steve and I was talking this morning, and again, soften the area around with pavement and so forth to give it the right drainage and so forth. But to use the entire area with pavement, in my opinion, would not be good for its maintenance concern.
Well, I can tell you that at the Queens Botanical Garden, and I'm sure in other locations, that's just one that pops to my head, the entire parking area is paved with permeable pavers. Pavers are meant to be used and are used all the time in public and private locations that are suitable for plowing, that have, asphalt's not maintenance-free either, as anyone who's going to look at the roads in the next 2 weeks will find out. So I think that if they're properly, my understanding is that if they're properly installed, pavers would not pose a maintenance problem for even a very busy parking lot in a public location.
So what type of permanent pavers you're referring to? So
The ones I'm familiar with are concrete, but they come in, there's different materials, and even the concrete ones come in faux brick, faux stone, faux, whatever. Many options.
If we propose that, let's say if we were to put some pavers instead of the entire parking lot, if we bordered it around with some pavers to soften it up a bit, would that be in favor?
I think we were hoping that you'd come back with a proposal. You came back saying there was no change. So we can try and sit around here and design this, but it's hard for us to really say yes to your sort of idea that you'll do some areas as a buffer until we see it. So if you'd like to come back and show it, otherwise I think the commission is saying that there's something that we can sort of understand is if you do the entire area, and many parking lots are done that way. I mean, I'm open to ideas, and if the commission feels comfortable that they work with staff on some part of it being paved and...
Yeah, and well, the idea was too that you would work with the staff, and it would be something that was maintainable, that we all recognize that you need something.
Right.
We're trying to give you some options by
Right.
working with the staff.
We will agree to work with staff, but we would like to go forward and continue what we need to do in order to get this building going.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we suggest that they work with staff on paving material for the parking lot? Okay?
That's fine.
All right, so we can close the hearing. All right. Is it your, no. Sorry, okay. Kim. It's John. Oh, John, yeah, okay. Yeah, you missed your turn, right? No, you didn't. Okay, sorry. It's the end of the day. Kim, please. Yeah.
In the matter of 404 Richmond Terrace, AKA 404 to 418 Richmond Terrace, the application to alter facades, reconstruct the rear wall of the addition, install mechanical equipment, construct a parking lot, demolish a wall, and install a perimeter fence. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed retention of the historic glazed wood front door, side lights, and door surrounds will preserve the significant architectural features, that the proposed exterior stair is a simple, open design and will be installed on a secondary side facade, and therefore will not detract from the significant architectural features of the building, that the installation of the proposed exterior stair will support the adaptive reuse of the building, that the south facade of the 1924 addition is in severely deteriorated condition, warranting its reconstruction, that the historic shingle cladding of the south facade and east facades will be salvaged and reused or replaced in kind, that the south facade will maintain its historic fenestration pattern, and that the proposed 12 over 12 double-hung windows will match the historic configurations, that the removal of the mechanical equipment from the west facade of the roof will reverse an unsympathetic alteration, that the proposed mechanical equipment will be installed on the east side of the roof in a location that will be less visible than existing rooftop mechanical equipment and only minimally visible from the street, and therefore will not call undue attention onto itself, that the proposed removal of the tallest portion of the non-historic concrete perimeter wall will not result in the loss of historic fabric, that the entire portion of the non-historic perimeter wall will not result in the historic fabric, loss of the historic fabric, and will restore the sense of openness at a prominent corner of the site, that the existing concrete perimeter wall and decorative wrought iron fence featuring pickets with leaf, finials, and curvilinear cross pieces is in keeping with the spirit, the form, scale, and level of ornamentation found on 19th century ironwork and fences. Therefore, the proposed continuation of this feature along the Westervelt Avenue is appropriate to the age and style of the building, that the proposed wall and fence will not diminish the sense of openness at the site, that the introduction of plantings at the perimeter of the site will help mitigate the visual impact of the proposed parking lot, that the proposed work will not detract from the significant architectural features or historic character of the building or the St. George Historic District.
I think we skipped the addition.
That's what I thought. And that the applicant will work with staff on paving the parking lot with pavers or some other permeable material. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application is approved.